Hello everyone, welcome to today's session. My name is Gideon Osani. I am a front-end development engineer at Atop Web Technologies, and today we are going to be talking about spec-driven development skills for high-performance software teams. To kick off, I love this quote by Emily Griff. He who fails to plan, plans to fail. In software engineering, especially as we rely more on AI, this principle has never been more true. If we don't plan how we use AI, the results can quickly get out of hand. So here's a quick roadmap on what we will cover today. And we'll look at the current state of AI coding, define what spec-driven development actually is, and discuss the common pitfalls of AI agents in modern IDEs. We'll look at how the community is tackling these issues, introduce AXON, explain why we built it, highlight its capabilities and commands, and wrap it up with a hands-on code lab building Microbank. Let's start with the reality of AI development today. When we give AI tools unguided prompts, it usually leads to context drifts and code-based chaos. So that's where structured specification change things. They take those fleeting chat prompts and turn them into clear vision contracts that keep our engineering predictable. So what exactly is spec-driven development, or SDD? Simply put, it is an AI native approach where a written machine-readable specification becomes the main contract and the simple source of truth for your project. SDD flips the usual way of doing things. Instead of just jumping straight into writing code or sending random prompts to an AI, engineers define clear, acceptable criteria, rules, and architecture in simple markdown files first. Coding only happens after those rules are set. Now, why doesn't plain AI prompting work well in large projects? The first issue is context drift. So without clear boundaries, coding agents usually lose track of what the overall project structure over time is. They end up creating mismatched code patterns or orphan components that break things down the line. The second issue is vibe coding overhead. When AI generation isn't constrained, developers end up stuck in long, frustrating reprompting loops. The AI starts overbuilding features or introducing hidden bugs that easily slip past pull request reviews. The third pitfall is having zero audit trail. Chat prompts disappear after a session, but the code stays in your repo. When something breaks weeks later, the team has no way of checking why the AI wrote the code that way or what the original human intent was. So how is the community solving this issue? The developer community has been trying to solve these issues in a couple of ways. First, through agent skills and rules files, right? Using files like cursor rules or Claude MD to give the AI basic project guidelines. Secondly, they are solving this, or they have tried to solve this through the Model Context Protocol (MCP), which connects external tools and live runtime data straight into the agent. We have also seen the rise in slash commands and workflows to standardize how teams plan and implement tasks, but there's still a missing link. We need an open, ununified framework that handles code inspection, save rollbacks, and spec governance all in one place. The missing link is AXON. AXON is an open source plugin for AI agents and IDE assistants. It helps teams plan and build predictable software by turning raw product ideas into lasting product context. Clear specs, step-by-step execution plans, automated inspection, and easy recovery. So why exactly did we introduce AXON? We built AXON because prompt-only development is simply too hard to repeat. An AI agent might understand that you, or an AI agent might understand what you want today, but by the next task, it forgets your product goals, design rules, tech stack choices, testing setup, or deployment steps. So, Axon fixes this by turning unpredictable AI code generation into smooth engineering assembly line. It gives your team predictable execution, automated checks to ensure your code base matches your specs, and Git aware recovery if you ever need to roll back at any point. So, here's a quick look at how you interact with Axon using simple slash command. So we have the Axon initiate, right? So this helps you set up your project context and workflow rules. We have the Axon craft. It creates a detailed plan from any feature, bug, fix, or idea. Then we have the Axon immerse. So this steps into an approved plan and starts building it. We have the Axon Compose. It helps us design clean front-end interface like dashboards, game UIs, app UIs. We also have the Axon Investigate. It helps you check your progress across different feature paths. Then we have the Axon Inspect. Axon Inspect audits finished code against your original plan. Then we have the Axon Revert. So once you make an error, you can safely roll back changes if something goes off track. So to wrap up, we are going to put all this into practice with a hands-on code lab. We will use Axon step by step to build a microbank application, showing you how to go from a clean slate to building features, running checks, recovering from mistakes, and adding new updates smoothly. Atop basically just launched a product. So basically we launched Axon, right? And we're going to be learning the capabilities of Axon, why we created Axon, right? And we are going to be seeing the capabilities of Axon with in this simple code lab. And we are going to be using a microbank, right? So we are going to learn how to use Axon to learn how to build a predictable spec-driven micro bank app. So we are going to be looking at this step by step and we are going to be using a fresh project, right? So Axon can be used for a new project and a project you've already been working on, right? So yeah, so in this code lab, we are going to be showing you the capabilities of Axon. So Axon basically stands for Atop Execution Orchestration Network. It is an open source plugin that is created by Atop Web Technologies for AI coding agents like Codex, Anti-Gravity, and Cloud Code. So its main purpose basically is to solve a huge problem in AI assisted development. So most times when you're just prompting, so your agent most time drifts from the main cause of, you actually use the word interaction. So when you're building with AI, agents are very fast, but sometimes they lack durable context. Sometimes they forget the context of what you are saying, and they tend to drift basically. And design systems. So basically, there are a lot of issues with that we could run through when we are just prompting our agent, right? So um, we built Axon to make sure we have predictable results, right? So Axon introduces a protocol to fix this. So we go by the context first, specification second, implementation third, and verification always. So at every point in your project, you can always verify what you are building. So we are going to be running you through a step-by-step guide on how to use AXON. So we are going to be building a microfinance bank with AXON. You're going to learn how to use AXON to build a predictable spec-driven microfinance bank application step by step. So the goal here is not to build a real bank. The goal is to demonstrate what AXON does end to end, right? So basically in this code lab, you will see AXON handle project context, specification planning, implementation, and investigation. And by the way, this code lab was written by Perret Harrison, right? So recovery and brownfield iteration. So you could always make reference to the pre-built microfinance bank at Atop. So you just go to this link. You are going to see these links are going to be put in the description of this video. So act on the source repo. So yeah, let's get started. So basically, before we get started, there are some groundwork we need to, or there are some things we need to put in place. First of all, we are going to be creating our folders, right? So we'll just copy this. So you could just so under this video you would see the link to this code lab, so it makes it easier for you. So you can just copy this. So if you are using, you could run this also. If you're using a Windows system, you could run this in your terminal. So if you're using a Linux operating system, you could also run this in your terminal. You could also run this directly with you on your IDE, whether you're using anti-gravity, cloud, or whichever you're making use of. So yeah, we are going to create our folder. We are going to just run the first command, right? So we'll run, so mkdir. Basically you need to understand the basics of Linux, but you don't, for this tutorial you don't need to. So mkdir is, we are going to be making our directory, which is this. Then we are going to go into that directory. Sorry, let's do this again. Okay, so we'll just cd into this directory. So I'll just copy this name to make sure I'm moving into the right folder. So basically we have been able to create our folder, right? So yeah, so we are going to open the folder in our agentic IDE, such as VS Code or your preferred coding environment, right? So we are going to, the next step is we are going to be basically installing AXON in our project. So in your anti-gravity or Gemini CLI, so on your anti-gravity you can basically run all this, but I'm just going to be making use of my terminal here. So you have to go into your you have to, let me zoom this in, sorry. Okay, yes. So you basically would go into your folder and then paste this command. So one thing you have to notice that the AGY command, you have to install anti-gravity command. If you're making use of anti-gravity, you have to install this command, this plugin on your system, to make sure that your system recognizes the AGY command. Just like you have Git, you should have installed Git. If you want to run the Git command, basically your system has to recognize the command. So if you haven't installed this, you go back and get that sorted. So we are going to give this a little time to run. So yeah, so if your terminal says AGY command not found, like what I was saying, or ADY command not found, so you have to install and authenticate anti-gravity or Gemini CLI first, then rerun the AXON install command, right? So um we are going to be basically giving that a little time to run. So like if you're using cloud code, right, this is the command you're going to be run. So you could actually learn more. Most all these links are going to be put under this video in the description. So let's check how far we've gone. So basically our Axon has been successfully cloned into our repo. So after installation, we are going to verify if our agent sees Axon by typing the slash. So we are going to open up our anti-gravity, which I already have running. So you go to on your agent, you would go open the folder you want to work with. So mine is in my desktop, so just search for it. So here we have Axon Micro, so select this. So now we have this our Axon project open in our IDE. So I'm going to basically run this slash, and then you can see here we have the compose, Axon craft, Axon immerse, just like we have here. So you can see that we can now confirm basically that we have Axon running. So if it does not show up, you restart your IDE or reload your agent environment. So the next step we are going to be okay. So now we have successfully opened we have successfully installed this, so we can now close our terminal. We don't need that again. So we are going to be moving to the next step. So because this is a new project, right, so basically we are going to run initialize. So you come to your IDE and run this command. So since we are starting a new project, we are going to be running AXON initialize, right? We'll be giving our IDE the AXON initialize command. We'll give it some time to run through the process. So yeah, it's going to prompt you to give some permissions. So say allow. So yeah, you see, to ask you to verify. So you could always give it permission to always do what it needs. So yeah, you can see here it's saying welcome to Axon. I will guide you through project discovery, verify this directory is ready for a new project, and this thing. So so now I see it's asking us, what do you want to build? This is Axon Microfinance Bank tutorial project. Give me a brief description of your vision so I can capture the initial concept. So now it's even giving you a suggestion. So it's saying a microfinance or microbanking tutorial app demonstrating the core banking features, account transfer transaction using microservice architecture. So you could say a full stack microfinance microbank, sorry, platform with a React front and REST API back end and a Postgres database. So we basically just want to demonstrate. So here is an educational tutorial showing how to build a digital bank from scratch. So basically it does gives you these suggestions. So we're going to just go with number 1 and then we'll submit. All right, so yeah, it's now initializing our concepts. So you need to read through what it's telling you. So the product definition, right? So it's saying based on your inputs, here are the proposed project title and summary. So the title is AXON Microfinance Bank Tutorial Summary, a micro banking tutorial application designed to demonstrate the core features of a modern digital banking platform, including accounting management, fund transfer, transaction history, built with a microservice architecture. The project serves as a hands-on and all it says. So it goes on to ask you more questions so that it can capture the context of which you're trying to work. So if you think you need more, you want to give it more context, you say no, I did like to refine, or others write your answer. So we'll just say yes, this captures my vision perfectly, this, right? So now you tell it that, right? So it's going to basically be, so now it's creating a product MD, right? So now you say, how do you like to create a product definition? Interactive, recommended. So conduct a short interview of up to 4 questions to craft a detailed, accurate product definition tailored. So basically you do have to read through this, right? So let's go with it's us giving more context, right, to ask us several questions and we give it answers so that we could actually capture what we are trying to do. So yeah, it says which core banking feature should this tutorial cover? So you select all that apply. So account management, open view, okay. So fund transfer between accounts, internal and external, okay. So okay, let's say this, so let's just go with this first 4. So we want to keep it as simple as possible for now. So yeah, we'll just submit that for now. So as you know, this is a basic tutorial, so we don't go into so many complexities. So who is the primary audience for this tutorial? So let's just go with this. So it's basically asking us what is the intended scope of this project. So it's a minimal working tutorial covering 4 selected features. So yeah, we'll just go with that. So it's now creating a markdown file for us. So right, so like we say, after we run that, so AXON will inspect your project directory because you're starting from an empty folder. It will treat this as a greenfield project. So when AXON asks you what you want to build, you use this answer, right? A simple microfinance bank, clean nav bar. So we can copy this, right? Like no backend needed. So this prompt matters. The homepage design is part of the product, so we need it in the product definition from the beginning, right? So you run this, right? So you just it will create, like we have seen, it's creating our product MD, the guidelines, and then so after it does this, um we are going to start crafting. So let's see how far it has gone with creating our. Okay, so we still have more questions. We'll just give it time to do its thing. So as I said, you could just give it full permission. So just going to keep generating these files. So we are going to handpick what stack we want to use. So basically we are going to be building with this with React. So we no back end for now. So just let's focus only on the front end. So we are up to our tech stack. So we still have our workflow, code style guidelines to go, right? So here, when it asks for the core features, we use this, right? When it asks for the initial UI, we are going to come back to this. When AXON asks for success criteria, we are going to use this. So let's keep prompting. So we now have our workflow MD. So we are going to be creating our code style guide, and then finally our index.md. So we have our workflow MD. Okay, cool. We now have our index MD. So you see the index MD is the single source of truth for all tools and agents working on this project. So it acts as a map of the entire AXON infrastructure, right? So now we have gotten to the parts where it asks us to craft our bank, right? So we say yes, let's start planning it. So we submit this. So you see now let's hands off to craft to plan our first part. We're reading the skills now. So the next step is when AXON asks. So we are going to tell it our core features. So we are trying to guide everything based on this. Let's give it this final instruction. Okay. I think we've already answered this question. Yeah. So now it's now creating the file for us. So so at this point we immerse it would immerse and then create this. So now we are going to so you see we have a 6-phase plan covering the project scaffold, data layer and all that. So now all we just need to do is run the command AXON immerse. So basically just give it permissions to do its thing. So basically all we just have to do is just keep giving it permissions. So we just basically keep letting it run. So we basically ran into an error. But yeah, we just continue. So basically, your ID is going to just be doing most of the work for you. All you just have to do is sit back and give approvals. So yeah, finally we've completed it. So we just run through this document to confirm before we run our npm run dev. So yeah, as you can see, we have our banking interface, nice, sleek. So we could sign in here. So we'll just create an account. So I think since we don't have an account, we'll sign up. So ignore that. So see, we'll use this. Okay, just use this. So you can see, even though the nav bar here is a bit close, but then we deposit funds. Let's start with $10,000. So we'll see deposit fund, and you can see we can choose to withdraw funds of, let's say, $8,000 and withdraw funds. So you can see deposits and withdrawal all made successfully. So you can see here um, we've we've done this. So we ran this, and then we've successfully opened our file, so we can verify the user flow and all that. So yes, right. So in when we were building this initial one, so we had a blank white page, but you can see that we do not have that error. So we can move on past that. So AXON is not only for generating code, it also helps understand and recover projects. So it reads the pathway, basically plans. So we've already done this AXON pathway. So it reports current pathway, task status, blocker, and progress. So we've inspected our projects, and then we reviewed, we've run our tests, and you could always revert to a previous state, right? So as we said, Axon could be used for already existing projects, right? So after you have um if you already have an existing project, you can still use Axon to continue from where you stop. So now this current project is now a brownfield project, no more a greenfield project, right? It already has our React code, test, Axon context, and all. So this is where we show how Axon is useful. So we could also run another this thing here. So we want to add account, right? So we are just going to tell it this. So we want to add another account. Just put this to the side. So basically we are adding a feature. So just read through this carefully to make sure that we have everything we want. We basically leave that to run, then we implement this plan. So while that is running, so it will read the existing project, the emails, and to craft everything to verify. So it's basically going to create two users. So we'll log in as the sender, deposit or transfer money to the recipient username, right? So we are going to see that in action. Right, let's see how far we've gone here. So it's going to basically run this for us. So we'll now implement this. So as you can see, our account to account transfer feature is completed. So we are going to basically be testing it out. So we already have one user. So we are going to create another user. So we'll say Sammy. Right, so we'll just let this create for us. We'll save this for the future. So now we open this, so we are going to deposit money. So sorry, say let's go with $10,000 deposit. So we have now in our account. So just to check, let's see, let's look at this. Sorry. So imagine we want to transfer money to somebody that does not exist. To tell us that recipient Sammy G does not have an active account. But if we try for Usani G now, right? If we transfer funds, see that we've cleared our account, right? So the main idea here is I've been able to deposit and transfer money out. So if we log out and log in as Usani G, here we'll see that it will reflect. So we have $25,000, right? So we could see that our transfer account to account feature works, right? So yeah, so we have been able to verify this feature by creating two users. We logged in as the sender, deposited money, so we transferred to the recipient's username, so we confirm the sender's balance decreases, and we've logged into the receiver, and we've confirmed that their balance has increased. So you can confirm both ledgers, so show transfer records. So this is a brownfield AXON project, right? So the next step would basically be to do cleanup. We are going to run these commands, right? We over time AXON has been running tests for us, right? So then we can build, and then git start. We check our git status, and then now commit it to our GitHub, right? So congratulations, we have been able to see how AXON works end to end, right? So we started with a blank project, we initialized AXON, we defined the project, we locked in our stack, we created the workflow, we crafted an MVP pathway, we built the app. So we did all this, investigated the process, inspected it, and the most important lesson is not that an AI agent can write React app. The important lesson here is that an AI assisted development becomes more predictable. So the main idea is here that we are able to predict the direction by the questions, the back and forth questions that we um, had with our agent. So we can always, like we said, we'll have all these links. Basically, we have the link to this code lab in the description, so you can go through this, so you can use these commands as reference. So when you initialize, you know that you're setting up the project context. When you craft, so you're turning an idea, feature, or bug, or chore, or MVP into a spec and implementation plan. So immerse means that we are executing the approved plan task by task. So investigate means, so yeah, all this. So revert a pathway. So AXON promise is simple. We get our context, we get our specification, we implement, and then we can verify always. So congratulations, you have come to the successful end of this code lab, right? You can discover more code labs, or you could go back and restart this code lab. Bye for now.